If you're a federal employee within 10 years of retirement and the market suddenly tanks, the worst thing you can do is panic and start making changes in your TSP. So today, let's talk about what to actually do instead. I'm Tom, I'm a certified financial planner, and in this video, I want to walk you through how to think when the market drops, how to avoid the big mistakes I see federal employees make, and where the opportunities actually are in a down market. And toward the end, I'll show you how to stress test your own plan against a crash so you can see if you're actually okay. So before we talk about specific moves to make, I want to start with how to think through this when everything on your screen is in the red. When the market falls, most people jump straight to the question, should I get out? Rather than doing that, here are better questions to ask yourself. Does this change my retirement date? How much does this really impact the income I'll need from my TSP? And what does this do to my tax plan? Because the market corrections are normal, right? 10, 15% drops, even full bear markets, they may feel terrible, but they're not automatically a sign your whole retirement is going to be ruined. And here's the thing a lot of federal employees forget in the moment, which is one of the most important pieces to your retirement plan, and that's your pension. FERS or CSRS plus Social Security later on. Think of that pension as a built-in shock absorber. The more of your core expenses it covers, the less pressure will be on your TSP during ugly markets. So before you let the news talk you into blowing up your investment allocation, pause and ask yourself, has my long-term plan actually changed? Or am I just scared because everything on TV is red? Once you've zoomed out and reminded yourself what really matters, the next step is to line your investments up with when you're really going to need the money. Now, a huge mistake I see is treating all of your money like it has the same job, because it doesn't. Some of your money is soon money, meant for the first couple years after retirement. Some is later money to be used in your 60s, 70s, and 80s. And some might be considered never money, which is what might go to your kids or grandkids. Now, if you're 1 year from retirement and your TSP is invested like you're 35, completely focused on all growth, of course a crash is going to feel terrifying, right? But if you're 7 years out and you know your pension will cover most of your basic expenses, even with the same market crash, you're going to feel very different. So instead of only thinking about the specific funds and which fund should I pick, try asking yourself, how much of the money I'll need in the next few years is actually at risk in the market? Here's a simple way to think about it with 3 buckets. 1 bucket for the next 2 to 3 years of spending, which is very safe. 1 bucket for years 3 through 10, which is moderate. And 1 bucket for 10 plus years out, which is growth. If the soon bucket is protected, you're not forced to sell low in a downturn. That alone takes a ton of pressure off you and your investments. And when you start thinking in timelines like that, it sets you up to see the real landmine around retirement, which is what happens when bad markets show up right as you start pulling money out for income. The scary part isn't just that the market went down, it's the market went down and I'm pulling a lot of money out at the same time, especially in the first 5 years of retirement. That's called sequence of returns risk. If you're selling a bunch of shares while prices are low, those shares are gone and it's much harder to bring the portfolio back to where it was before. This is where your pension and your Social Security can be a huge advantage, because if they cover a big chunk of your lifestyle, you don't have to take as much from TSP when markets get ugly. That flexibility can dramatically reduce the long-term damage of a market crash. So instead of worrying about changing your investments, ask yourself, do I actually have a withdrawal plan? Which account would I pull from first if the market went down? And how much of my lifestyle is covered by pension and Social Security versus my savings? Sometimes the best move in a crash isn't touching the investments at all. So if sequence of returns risk is the big danger, one of the main ways you manage that is by paying attention to how your investment mix drifts and making sure you're not accidentally taking more or less risk than you meant to. Because when markets move, your allocation will certainly change. Meaning you start with a mix you're comfortable with, and after a big drop, you might be way more conservative or way more aggressive than you meant to be. Rebalancing is a term we use a lot in the investment world, and it just means bringing things back in line with the risk level you actually wanted to when you started. Now, for federal employees, this gets trickier because you might have a TSP, an old IRA or 401k, or maybe a taxable brokerage account. And if you only look at one bucket at a time, it's easy to make the wrong move. That move might mean trimming the positions that held up better and adding to what dropped, or it might mean doing nothing if you're already where you should be. But it should be a choice, right? It shouldn't be an emotional reaction to what's happening in the market. Now, that's all about the money you've already built up. If you're still working and adding to the TSP, a market crash will look a little different from your side of the table. If you're still working and contributing to TSP, a down market might be annoying, but there's a silver lining here. Your new contributions are buying more shares at lower prices. So it's actually an opportunity, because here's what's actually happening. Lower prices mean each paycheck buys more of the positions in your account. Over long stretches of time, that can actually help your results, because when the market comes back, you come back even stronger because you bought the dip. What I see a lot is people in their final working years who suddenly want to either stop making contributions or slam everything into the G fund when things get scary. And I understand why. We don't want to lose any money because retirement's on the horizon, but that just means they stop buying when investments are on sale and they lock in a lower growth rate over the long term. So if your time horizon for that money is still 10 plus years, keeping contributions going and taking advantage of the compounding will certainly be worth it. While we're on the topic of using downturns to your advantage, there's another move that's less exciting in the moment, but can be huge for your future, and that's how you handle the taxes. So let's talk about the tax opportunity almost nobody gets excited about, but you'll appreciate it later down the road, and that's Roth conversions. When markets drop, the value of your pre-tax accounts often drops too. If you already know you want to move some money from tax deferred to Roth over time, doing that when values are temporarily lower can let you move more shares and potentially pay tax on a smaller amount of money. This is especially effective in that window, after you retire, before Social Security kicks in, and before RMDs start. A lot of federal retirees have a handful of those lower income years. Combine that with a market pullback, and you've got a pretty nice Roth conversion window if the math checks out. Now, here's a quick caveat to this point. TSP and IRAs don't work exactly the same. Once you start taking conversions from a TSP versus from an IRA, the rules will really matter here. So that's not something where you just wing it and hope it works out. You want to make sure you understand the rules in their entirety. Okay, so Roth conversions are one way to turn lower account values into an advantage within retirement accounts. And if you got a regular taxable account, there's another move people talk about a lot called tax loss harvesting. Now, you'll hear tax loss harvesting thrown around a lot when markets are down. Here's the short version on how they actually work. In a taxable brokerage account, you can sell investments at a loss. Those losses can offset gains, and in some cases up to $3,000 of ordinary income per year. And the extra losses can carry forward into the future. So it can be useful, but that's not really a thing you do within a TSP, inside IRAs, traditional IRAs, Roth IRAs. You don't get the same tax loss harvesting benefits because the tax rules are different for those accounts. So if you've got a decent taxable account outside your TSP, it can be worth taking a look at. But if everything is in TSP and IRAs, Roth conversions, your withdrawal order, and investment allocation usually matter more than tax loss harvesting. The point is to use the tools that actually apply to your accounts. All of these tools you might use, but they only really make sense in the context of an overall plan you actually believe in, which is where that stay the course advice either works or totally falls apart. You've probably heard just stay the course a million times, right? And I agree with that only if the course you're on is actually well thought out. You don't want to stay committed to a bad plan. So for federal employees, a good plan connects all the federal specific pieces: your FERS pension, TSP and other investment accounts, Social Security timing, taxes and Roth strategy, retirement date and survivor choices, FEHB and Medicare, and the actual order you'll draw from your accounts. Once you can see that laid out, downturns become a lot less scary because you're not guessing anymore, right? You're following your roadmap. So if you're a federal employee, here's what I'd want you to remember from this video. First, zoom out. Look at the whole plan and not just your TSP balance. Second, make sure your investments line up with when you'll actually need the money. Third, protect your withdrawal strategy so your pension and Social Security can take a ton of pressure off if you use them well. And fourth, look for planning opportunities. Roth conversions, rebalancing, and smarter withdrawal decisions can actually improve your long-term picture in a downturn. A market crash doesn't automatically mean your retirement is off track, but it is a really good excuse to stress test what you've got. If you're a federal employee within about 10 years of retirement and you want help with that, click the link below the video to get your free federal retirement blueprint. This is a free call where we can discuss your numbers and see if you're on track. And if you want to see what this actually looks like with real numbers, watch this video right here where I walk through a full federal retirement case study for a sample couple. We plug in their FERS pension, TSP, Social Security, and stress test their income so you can see how the pieces all fit together. Click here to watch, and I'll see you over there.